One of the most common questions that my patients usually ask me is about whether they can eat bread every day. Well, every day, bread has always been a staple food among Filipinos, and whether they can easily or safely eat bread on a daily basis. So we know that Philippines is a bread eater country. I think Asia in general, whether we use it as a main meal during breakfast or we use bread as part of our snacks. Now, the sandwich bread or the Filipino bread like pandesal, for example, are all mainstays in our meal, whether it's breakfast or snacks. Now, typically prepared from a dough made from flour and water, bread is often characterized as unhealthy, harmful, and fattening. It has not been marketed as a healthy option for breakfast. What then can be the health impact of bread? What then is the role of bread for meal? Is it safe or is it healthy to eat? Let's watch this. First, we have to remember that bread is low in essential nutrients. For breakfast or for snacks, bread, if compared to other foods like fruits and vegetables, it is relatively, without question, very low in essential nutrients like protein, fiber, vitamins, and minerals. So if you eat bread, it basically is easily converted into sugar. On top of that, we have to remember that bread is loaded with calories, specifically loaded with carbs, and therefore fattening, and can spike your blood sugar if you are a patient with diabetes. But there may be some kinds that may be better options like whole wheat bread, which is what I usually recommend, since it may boast of higher amounts of fiber and contain certain micronutrients like selenium and manganese, as well as niacin and iron. So in short, when we talk about bread, it usually is associated with high in calories and carbs, but low in essential nutrients like protein, fat, and many vitamins and minerals. Now, the second issue with regard to bread is that bread contains gluten. Now, we all know that gluten is a specific type of protein that helps dough rise and therefore gives it an elastic texture. And therefore, most breads contain gluten. So for those who needs gluten-free food, bread should be one of those that you should stay away. Though most people digest gluten easily, the problem with some is that they cannot tolerate it, or some people may have sensitivity to gluten and therefore allergic reaction to it, which can result in issues like stomach pain or bloating. Now, for these individuals, the best option would be gluten-free breads, typically made from tapioca, brown rice, or potato flours instead of wheat flour, which actually can be tolerated better or well among these patients who are gluten sensitive. In short, bread almost always contains gluten, which can cause some adverse side effects for people with increased sensitivity to gluten, resulting in uncomfortable abdominal symptoms. But for me, the worst part of bread is the fact that it is high in carbohydrates. Now, as an endocrinologist, I always counsel my patients to be very cautious with eating bread. I always caution them that taking too much carbs can result in a damaging effect in the pancreas, overloads the system with sugar, and therefore can cause long-term complications, specifically if the blood sugar remains elevated. Remember, a single slice of bread, for example, packs an equivalent or an average of around 13 to 15 grams of carbs, equivalent to around 1/3 cup of rice. So when you eat bread, what happens is that your body breaks it down to glucose, leading to an increase in blood sugar levels. We know that increase in blood sugar levels triggers the pancreas to produce insulin. Insulin is an anabolic hormone and therefore drives calories inside the fat cell. As long as insulin levels is high, then the fat cell cannot break it down or cannot release glucose, and therefore the rest of the body will be deprived of glucose. This will then make you crave for more sweets. So understandably, therefore, more sugar leads to more hunger because of high insulin and therefore leads to increased body weight. It is therefore not surprising why high carb diets may be associated and is always associated with high risk of developing diabetes and metabolic syndrome, which is a cluster of health conditions that increase a patient's risk for heart attack. So if you really like to eat bread, do it on occasions. Then I would advise that you opt for certain varieties, such as the whole grain bread, which are high in fiber, which can slow the absorption of sugar in your bloodstream and hopefully help stabilize your blood sugar without necessarily increasing glucose levels in blood. In short, bread's high carbohydrate content is a no-no. It can increase blood sugar and hunger while possibly promoting a higher body weight and increased risk of diabetes and metabolic syndrome. So how do I advise my patients? Do I not recommend them to eat bread? Of course not. I do. Ask them if they like bread, they can. You can actually substitute rice for bread during breakfast, but not bread plus rice. And when you have bread for breakfast, enjoy it with a cup of coffee. What I usually advise my patients to avoid would be eating bread during snacks because these are extra carbs already that will be converted into sugar and fat and therefore develop more risk of uncontrolled diabetes. So I'd advise you to enjoy your bread once in a while because I do eat bread once in a while. As always, I follow my motto in life that I do try to eat better on most days than not. So in summary, bread is okay to eat, but always in moderation. And if you follow my advice, avoid eating bread during snacks. Now, most breads are enriched with important vitamins and minerals, and therefore they are better options of different breads that are available to you. So I hope this video is a wake-up call to all those who are at risk of developing diabetes or those who are overweight because any extra carbs converted into sugar and fat will put on more weight, and those who are really fond of breads, unnecessarily eating it any time of the day. Again, my advice is always eat anything on occasions, especially bread and your pastries. Again, this is Dr. Jerry Tan. Stay safe. See you again soon.